Hello, I am just doing a really quick tutorial on the Vert Offense, the vertical stack, which is different than what we usually run, but I want us to have a strong focus on learning it these next 2 weeks because we're going to come up against it in games, and also we're going to we're gonna run it maybe in an end zone sort of situation because it's really good for scoring when you're really close to the end zone. So let me grab some paper and I'm gonna draw up what the basics of it are. Okay, there's the paper. Alright, so I think I went over last time that the vertical stack is basically set up so that you have the one handler and the 6 cutters. And that's the offensive end. The cuts come from the back, usually an out cut, and then back to the front of the line, out cut in the opposite direction, back to the front of the line. When it's needed, you can like throw in dump cut, which is the guy that just comes back here from the front of the line and kind of waits right here and can run across and kind of acts as another handler like we would see in the horizontal stack offense. Now how you defend this, which is also a huge focus of ours, because the reason we're learning it is so that we know how to defend it and we know what it looks like, is you use the force. So you force a throw to a specific side. So let's say this guy that's defending the handler, he's going to stand directly on the side of the handler. So he will be like even with the handler distance up the field, but like directly to the side of him. So by doing so and keeping his arms low, he's going to kind of create a wall that will block off this side of the field. Meaning that cuts that side of the field shouldn't get through because the handler's been blocked. This allows all the other defenders to stand on the other side and have a step ahead of the offense. So the deep defender is going to stand a few steps back from the deep cutter, and then all the rest are going to stand pretty much in line with the cutters, except for the front one. And the front one's going to stand a couple of steps this way. The eyes of the front one are always looking down the line at this guy and then down the rest of the line, because this defender is in charge of yelling out at any of the other defenders if something needs to happen. This defender's job is the same thing. He's looking down the line and covering this guy. And of course, it's usually cuts from the back, so this guy sees the most action first. But by having everyone stand on this side of the defender, we've already cut off this half of the field, and so we have a step on them, on whoever's on offense, before they will get there. And so this is a great offense to kind of show what our force does, because when we apply a force, then we limit them to half a field and we're a step ahead of them on defense. Because offense is always a game of being a step ahead of everyone else. You kind of have the element of surprise in offense, and this kind of eliminates that because people will still make cuts to that side, but we're not as concerned because we've got this guy, this defender, who's doing awesome. Better do awesome, because otherwise we're in a whole load of trouble. But he's probably doing awesome right here, guarding this whole half the field just by applying a force. And so, as I showed you last time, let me move on to the next page. As I showed you last time, the basic cuts come from the back. So here's the offense. Basic cuts come from the back, so it's just going to be like an out and in, an out and in, out in, and the line is constantly moving backwards. They're kind of shuffling backwards as the game progresses or as like we move up the field. And it's important to stay in this line because when you're outside of the line in the vertical stack, you're taking up space because you always have a defender with you. That's one of the keys to Frisbee is that you should, even if they're in a zone, you should know that there's going to be a defender on you pretty much at all times because, or so that means you can't go to open space and just sit there. Because when you sit there, you take away the open space, and Frisbee's a game of open space and taking advantage of the open space. So then I will draw up again the Townsend play that we'll run it. So the first cut, it comes from the back, and it is just a straight down and out cut. The second cut, and then the disc goes there. The second cut comes from the middle of the field, and it is a fairly similar cut. It's down and then over here, or it could be up and then over there. It doesn't matter as long as they get to this spot right here. And so that's a second throw, and you always are trying to lead the person on your throws. So you're throwing it before they actually get there so that they're running to the disc rather than having the disc thrown to them. Because when the disc's thrown to them, the defense has the advantage. They know where the disc's going. And then, meanwhile, while this is all happening, this guy, this front guy, or the second to front guy, it can go either way. You just kind of figure it out. Generally, I like to kind of number you off as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and have the even numbers stay with even numbers on cuts and the odd numbers stay with odd numbers on cuts. So then this guy does a similar thing where he cuts in, except then he goes out and goes deep. And then this throw is going to be, I don't have enough space, I didn't draw myself enough space, but that throw is going to be really deep. And that throw is going to be usually the scoring throw, or the throw that moves us furthest down the field. Now, keep in mind, if this doesn't work, then we just reset up the offense and we try again. Now, the next thing is if we're on the sideline, or if anyone's on the sideline with this offense. So I'm going to draw the field. Now, if we have a lot of problems in games with getting the disc off the sideline, we may actually run this offense because it is really good at doing like just that. So what happens is, say the disc is right here. We would actually line up in a line like this. Obviously, we'd be a little more condensed in this. But we'd be in a line similar to this. This guy would probably be a couple of steps back. I drew him a little too close. But the same thing here. The defender is either going to have to choose to force the back throw or force up the line. Generally, they're going to force up the line, so that means they'll take away the back throw. That means any cuts over here are not going to work. He's kind of taken away that area. What that means is the defense is going to be standing on this side. And so what we're going to see a lot of are cuts that are kind of out, then directly in, then immediately if the disc does not go there, then it's an immediate just get out and get into or out of the open space. If all else fails, again, we have this dump. And this dump's going to act very differently. He's going to run right behind the guy, and the disc will be thrown like as he's running there. And I know it's moving backwards, but it's holding on to the disc. Sometimes in Frisbee, you have to move backwards to continue the play. And that's something that it takes a while to learn because you feel like you're not making progress when you move backwards, but if it's holding on to the disc, then it's really good because it means that you prevent the other team from getting the disc and prevent the other team from having a chance of scoring. And then also, if all else fails, then I would suggest that the handler just huck the disc down the field. We can go up for it, but also at the same time, we can just pin them deep. I'd rather have us pin the other team deep than let them get a turnover really close towards their end zone. That's basically the basics of the vertical stack. If you are watching this, then the keyword is pink sunglasses. So if you message me pink sunglasses, I will credit you for watching this video. Alright, thank you. I will see you in a week and a half.